Welcome back to Gamescom Studio. Dream Cycle is a psychedelic adventure where players can slash, shoot, and loot their way through 10,000 very mysterious and crazy worlds. We've seen the brand new trailer, and I'll be honest, it left me with a lot of questions. So to hopefully fill in some of those gaps is the game's creator, Toby Gard. Toby, welcome to the show.
Hello there.
Hello. So already in this one trailer alone, we see platforming, we see melee combat, there's a gun, a bow and arrow, psychedelic landscapes. What is this game?
Well, so the Dream Cycle is basically it's I feel like basically I've been kind of trying to make the same game for the last 30 years, but it's basically another attempt to try and capture that experience of going into like the mysterious unknown of the world, right? And part of that is the scale of it, right? And not knowing what you're going to find around the next corner. So it's truly a game of exploration and discovery.
So before we dive into the actual gameplay, I'd love to know more about our main character. Is it Morgan Carter?
Yeah, Morgan Carter, exactly. Yep. And then so the game is based obviously on the Dream Cycle stories of, or inspired by the Dream Cycle stories of Lara Croft. And so he wrote extensively about Randolph Carter, and Morgan is like the great grand niece of Randolph.
And what's her story? What's the whole reason for being in this situation?
So in the kind of Dream Cycle stories that Lovecraft talked about, he basically was envisioning the situation where there's the dream worlds that we kind of visit or glimpse in our dreams are real places, right? And so in the game, Randolph is the first person who ever returned to the waking world with physical objects brought back from the dream realms that we see that we collectively visit in our dreams. And so, years and years after that, Morgan is an occultist who also travels into the dream realms and is exploring through those areas. And it's a really amazing. The Dream Cycle worlds that Lovecraft came up with are really, really cool because they kind of have this endless quality to them. They're he's always throwing out these new areas. He'd be talking about the perfumed jungles of Cled or the vaults of Zin and so forth. And then he'd be talking about the strange beings that live there and what odd, things that they're trading amongst the other creatures within the dream realms, right? And it just makes this tapestry of the unknown that feels sort of endless. And it seems like an amazing place to create a game and to be able to go adventuring, because it's the kind of place where you're never going to really run out of things to see or do, explore or find.
So we're going into this dream world to do some exploration. There's obviously some combat, some traversal, but what's the overall goal?
So Morgan is basically trapped in the dreamland. She's had her power kind of removed, and so she's sort of trapped, and so she's searching after she's trying to regain her power so that she can escape from the dream realms, because she's essentially stuck there. And at the same time, the dream realms have gone into some kind of cataclysm has occurred, and so she's having to deal with the fact that it's fragmented into a million pieces, right? And each one of these shards is basically an adventure that you can go on. And when the game releases, 10,000 of those shards will be available for you to play. But the whole point of the game is that it's supposed to be a portal for people to go on kind of these endless adventures. And so the goal of releasing it is to sort of continue to build on it, to bring new areas of the game out regularly, and to add 10,000 new adventures for people to be able to search through as the game goes on.
Well, it sounds very interesting. What causes a cycle to end and then start over? Is it when the player is defeated?
It's not so much that. I mean, so there are literally so there's 10,000 adventures, and each one of them is like a legitimate level's worth of adventure, right? And you're needing to travel across this map of the 10,000 shards, right, in order to be able to get to the different destinations where you've got things to be able to where you're following essentially your story threads. But what I really wanted from this game is to feel like it's not quite so you're just being handheld all the time. So you have the ability to be able to follow all sorts of different paths of your own. You can create your own subquests within that map, right? So you can say, I'm interested in this type of spell that I've picked up. Is there a way that I can, get an upgrade to it? So you can search the map for that and try and, pick a course that will take you to try and find that within one of the shards of the map. Or upgrades or different story threads. Each of the story threads that you follow can also give you different types of rewards and so forth, and give you backstory and move the plot forward. So it's just a very large space for people to be able to get that feeling of genuine exploration that is very rare in games, because games tend to be very manicured, right? Like there's a Disneyland feeling to a lot of games, because they're an artist's impression of what it would be like to explore a real place. And what's happening in Dream Cycle is, using proceduralism, but proceduralism that's being kind of controlled by goals. The locations that are being made, they are genuinely unexpected, even for me, right? And often players will be the first people to go into those places and explore them and complete them. And that is what exploration is to me, I suppose. It's like being on the frontier.
Well, that sounds great to me. I would say exploration is like the thing I like to do most in video games. How big can we expect some of these levels or shards to be, and is there an average time you expect it would take players to complete one?
That's a thing in tuning. So it depends on the difficulty of the level, I suppose. There's as you travel across the map, there's areas of high difficulty and low difficulty, right? Low difficulty levels are faster to do, and so those ones are 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. The harder levels can be quite a bit longer, because you need there's more things to do, basically. So and part of the concept of this game, where there's just so many little shards, is that you get to pick and choose that, right? The player gets to decide, I've only got 20 minutes or something to play, so I'm going to do a reasonably easy level tonight, and it makes for the whole experience a little bit more like jumping into a multiplayer. It's like a session. It's not quite such a big bite-sized thing, you're not going into a massive adventure. You don't know how many chapters. I'm going to go on a quick adventure. I'm going to have a laugh, and that can be it for tonight, right?
Mm-hmm. And are you finding items or gaining new abilities that you'll be able to carry on to other shards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're constantly upgrading your character and finding new abilities and finding new weapons, and then new perks. It's obviously, you've got the whole upgrade system, and she's got access to a whole bunch of different skills and abilities that you and the perks to be able to upgrade them, so that you can kind of hone your version of Morgan to play the way you want to play.
So do you expect once players start trying out these shards that they'll be able to map out like the correct path through them, like a Mega Man game, or do you think it's a little bit more open than that?
Well, it's totally open. I mean, that's the point. And like if you go the most direct route, then you'll see what other people have seen. If you stray off to the side, then you'll find places that perhaps no one's been to before. It's literally a game for explorers. And there's not a lot of games out there I'm a massive explorer for games, so No Man's Sky is one of the only ones to me that really gives me that feeling of, oh my god, I'm in a completely new place and no one's been here before, and it's really cool. And that's something that I want that experience in an adventure game, I guess, and that's not something that I've seen before, and that's what that's what Dream Cycle's trying to be.
So you're launching into early access. What kinds of content can players expect when they dive in?
So early access is, we really need a lot of feedback. Or I need a lot of feedback on how to make sure that these 10,000 levels have enough stuff going on in them for that chunk to be the right amount for the template for the ongoing updates, right? Because the 10,000 is just the first map piece out of 100 potential map pieces that could be released. Each map piece being kind of a new type of area, right? A new biome, or whatever you might call it, a new story thing. And so we kind of, the early access is because no one's really made a game like this before, and it's kind of very difficult to test something of that scale as well. So we need a community to be able to help me tune it and turn it into the right thing for that one chunk, so that when we start bringing out new areas, they will be the right type of content, right? Like the right number of enemies and the right number of the right amount of new story, the right amount of everything else, right? It's trying to find that mix essentially.
Well, Dream Cycle seems absolutely wild, very ambitious. I honestly can't wait to dive in and see what you've created. Luckily, we won't have to wait long.
Yeah.
Dream Cycle enters early access on September 7th on Steam. Toby, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with more Gamescom Studio.